Today I'm going to make a really fun pastry cream filled fruit tart. The first thing I'm going to do is go through the ingredients for the pastry cream. Then I will show the ingredients for the actual pastry, and then we'll get on to the actual video. So let's go through the ingredients now. So for the pastry cream, we need 1 cup of milk. I have 3 egg yolks. I have 2 tablespoons of butter, 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I've got 3 tablespoons of sugar, and the last thing that we need is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So those are the ingredients for that. Now I'll go on to the ingredients for the pastry crust. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through the ingredients for the actual pastry dough for our tart. And here are the ingredients. So I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 3/4 of a cup of icing sugar, I have 1 cup of soft butter, I have 1 egg, I have 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla. So those are the ingredients for the dough, so let's get going on the dough. Alright, so what we're going to do, get all of our soft butter into the KitchenAid mixer. Just get that in there. We'll throw in our egg, just pop that in. Beautiful. I'm going to get my little paddle going. So I'll set the paddle up and we'll start mixing this up. So I just want to break down the butter a little bit before I start adding my icing sugar. Alright, that's good enough. I'm going to get in all of the sugar now. There we go. And at this point, now I really want to start creaming this. I want to cream this and get this really well incorporated. So I'll just let this go for about 30 seconds and I'll come back. Okay, I'm going to add in the salt and I'll add in our vanilla. There we go. We'll just get that going. I just want to mix all of that before we start adding in our last ingredient, which is the flour. So I'll let this go for about 30 seconds or so, and I'll come back in a second. Okay, that's great. So we're going to start adding in our flour now. And I like this recipe just because it's a really nice recipe when you're using something like pastry cream, because it tends to not get soggy like a regular pastry crust. This is a really good recipe. I love this recipe. So we'll just get that incorporated. You can see how simple this recipe is. We'll just do 1 more addition after this. And the flour will be totally incorporated. We don't want to shock the mixture by adding in all of the flour at once. You know, it's nice to let all the ingredients, you know, meet each other in a friendly way, and a little bit at a time is better. Alright, that's fully incorporated now. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to get this out. I'm going to put it on the tabletop here. I'm going to cover it with saran. I'm going to wrap it up with plastic wrap, and I'm going to get it into the fridge so that we can chill it. So I'm not going to bore you with this, but basically what we're going to do, we're just going to get it all out, and we're going to form a disc, and then we're going to get it into the fridge to relax. So I'm going to continue on with this, and I'll be back in a second. So just to make this a little easier, I'm just going to pop another piece of plastic on the top and just squeeze it out. The larger you make the disc, the quicker it will chill, because you're exposing more surface area to the air. So there we go. That's beautiful. Alright, so I'm going to pop this into the fridge for about an hour or so. If you're in a rush, half an hour. and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our 3 egg yolks into our bowl, and we're going to start mixing them. At the same time, what I'm doing now is I'm slowly heating my 1 cup of milk. So I've got that on the stove behind me on a very low setting. I just want to heat the milk. I do not want to boil it, but I do want to have it hot. Okay, so we've got the egg yolks in here. I'm going to add in our vanilla. Add in all of our sugar. And then I'm going to add in all of the cornstarch. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to really fully incorporate all of these ingredients. And I'm going to let my milk get hot, and I will be back in a second. Alright, at this point I've got my milk. My milk is very hot but not boiling, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slowly add the milk to the eggs while I've got the mixer going. So I'm going to get my mixer going on full, and I'm going to slowly pour the milk into the eggs. I don't want to cook them, so I'm going to go very slowly with this. We're almost there, and there we go. Now our next step is to transfer this mixture now back to our pan, or our pot rather, and we're going to get that heated on the stove. So I'm just going to set up my element very quickly here, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, I've got it on my little induction cooker, and I'm going to start stirring. And we want to just keep stirring because we don't want the mixture to burn. So you want to have it on a medium heat, and you just want to continue stirring. Do not put this on high because you will burn the pastry cream. And what we're going to do is we're just going to keep stirring like this until you start feeling it thicken. What I've also done is I've washed out my bowl very quickly that we had the pastry cream in originally, because I'm going to be pouring this mixture back into that bowl, and we're going to refrigerate it later. So I'll just keep going at this, and we'll see how long it takes to thicken up. You're going to feel this thicken up all of a sudden, and that's the cornstarch doing its magic in combination with the yolks and everything together. So you don't want to stop doing this, you want to just keep stirring. And the noise that you're hearing is the little fan that's underneath this induction cooker. This is a new item that I received, and I'm trying it out, and it's very nice. You can see now all of a sudden the foam is starting to, you know, go down in the pot, telling me that it's starting to thicken. I can feel it. It's nice to do it by hand because you really get a good feel for it. You can see that there's some steam coming off. So when you see that happening, you can just lift your pot just a little bit off here. And that's just my induction cooker telling me that there's no pot on the element anymore, and it stops the heating process right away as soon as I lift it off, telling me that there's nothing on there. So there we go, we can already see that it's thickening up. And there we go. At this point, this is done. The only thing that we have left to do is to add in our butter. So right there, that's done. I'm going to take it off the heat, turn off my element here, right off, get that back here, and we're going to pop in the butter. So our 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm just going to get that mixed in. So that's it for the first part of the recipe. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to fully incorporate the butter. We're going to get it back into our bowl, and we're going to cover it with plastic wrap. And you don't want to put plastic wrap over the actual bowl. Of the top of the bowl, you want to have the plastic wrap actually touch the pastry cream. That way it will not form a skin when it's cooling down in the fridge. So there we go, beautiful. So let's go get our bowl, and we'll get this in the bowl. Alright, now we'll just get this back into our bowl. And if you wish, you can use a smaller bowl. This bowl is rather large. Doesn't matter. There we go. The spatula does a really nice job of clearing out your pot. So you don't want any of this going to waste. So there we go. Beautiful. Okay. The last thing to do is just to grab yourself a little piece of plastic wrap. And what you want to do is you want to actually push it and touch the surface of the pastry cream. Just like that. And now you can just pop this into the fridge, and we're going to let that chill for, an hour or 2. So that's it for this part of the video. On to the actual pastry crust. Alright, my tart shell dough has been chilling for, I don't know, about maybe 45 minutes or so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just remove the plastic, get a little bit of flour down on the dough here, and I'm just going to roll it out. Now what I have here is I've got a 9x9 little tart pan, and it has a removable bottom. Very, very nice to have the removable bottom if you can find one like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to roll this out. You don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin. It all depends on what you like. If you want something thicker, you can make it a little thicker. If you want it thinner, you can do it thinner. So I'm going to keep rolling this until I get to the thickness that I like, and I'll come back live in a second. There we go. Alright, what we're going to do, we're just going to get it up on our rolling pin, just like that. We'll bring that over here, and then you just want to gently get it on top. There we go. This is a really gentle dough. You'll find that it gets soft very quickly, and I have a couple of very large studio lights above me, so it's really making this dough melt a little bit quicker, get very soft faster than it would in your kitchen. So what you want to do is just gently try to get it in there as nicely as you can. You can just push down on it, or you can take a rolling pin and just go over it like that. Just like that. And anywhere where you see it needs a little bit of help, you can just get a little piece in there and just push your thumb down, and it just cuts it right off. There we go. There we go, that's good enough. You can roll all of the leftover dough back up, and what you can do is you can just put it into a disc and then pop it back in the fridge and let it rest. So here we have our dough here. It's all ready to go. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to dock it. Just like this. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the oven, 325 degrees for about 20 to 25 minutes. So I'll do that now, and I'll be back in a bit. Alright, my tart shell has baked, and I've completely cooled it here. So it's ready to go. We've got our pastry cream. I also have some strawberries and some nice raspberries. So I'm going to start with filling the tart with our pastry cream. So you see, by keeping your plastic wrap on top, you don't get a film, which is beautiful. So what I'm going to do is, for this recipe, this video, I'm just going to dump the whole thing in there. There we go. And then what we're going to, let me just get here on camera. There we go. And then I'm just going to start placing this down. I'm going to switch over to a small spatula, just so I can have a little bit more accuracy. Just a little easier. Oh, that pastry cream smells so good. Like I was saying, this is a 9x9 tart shell. And there we go. Beautiful. Perfect. Okay, our next step now is to get the fruit on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting up the strawberries, and then we're going to place the raspberries on next. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get my strawberries down. So I'm just going to cut my strawberries. Just like that. There we go. And all I want to do is just place these down as the bottom layer. Alright, I just zoomed in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep continuing with this. I'll keep going. I'll keep the camera rolling, but I'll just fast forward it a little bit so that you don't have to see me doing this for another 5 minutes. Okay, so our next step is to get our top layer on. So I'm going to start just placing these nice raspberries. So I've used almost a whole container. The container that I have here is a 12-ounce container, and I have maybe a dozen left on the side here, so it's not many left. And there we go. Well, I'd say that's pretty good. Well, let's just take that one out. There we go. So that's it for this stage. So the last thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply a simple syrup to the top to give it a nice glaze. Alright, so what I have here is I've made a very simple syrup. This is a mixture of 1 cup of water and 1 cup of white sugar, and then you bring it to a boil. And this is used in many applications in baking. But for today, what I'm doing here is I'm just going to get it all over the top of our tart. This is going to add a little bit of sweetness, and it's also going to protect the berries, and it's going to give it a nice little glossy look. So I'll put a link to a simple syrup video that I made, just in case you wish to see how that's made or try it out for yourself. So I'm just going to continue on doing this. Alright, so that concludes my video on my fruit tart. What I will do is cut into it later on, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's sliced up. And that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.